everyone, my name is Claudia Alvarez. I will be presenting Chapter 1, Adolescence and Delinquency. An adolescent is approximately the ages between 12 and 18. This is the stage of one's life that is between childhood and adulthood, approximately between the ages of 12 to 18, also known as the teenage years. During this stage of life, juveniles experience many changes physically and developmentally as they navigate puberty, hormones, emerging new attitudes, values, beliefs, and capabilities they will carry into their adult lives. The textbook definition for juvenile delinquency is an act committed by a minor that violates the penal code of the government with authority over the area in which the act occurs. A federal government report shows most people would say that a juvenile delinquent is a badly behaved teenager under 18 who gets into trouble with police frequently. An example of a juvenile delinquent would be an adolescent who skips school, drinks alcohol, uses illegal drugs, steals, is often belligerent, and may be prone to violence. What is considered juvenile delinquency varies from state to state, as penal codes are different in every state. This also contributes to how adolescents have gained many rights over time. Studies have demonstrated that children's exposure to violence, whether as victims or witnesses, is frequently associated with long-term physical, psychological, and emotional harm. The study established that children exposed to violence are more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, suffer from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic disorder, have difficulty in school, and become engaged in criminal behavior. This is the delinquency-prone behaviors. They start having school issues, alcohol and drug involvement, violent, family issues, mental health problems, stealing, youth culture. Today's youth are much more connected through the use of electronic social networking than members of any previous generation. This is both good and bad because they have more access to fall into peer pressure more than they did before, or use it as a platform for advocacy. So in the past, there was no cell phones, fewer rights for children. Parents had minimal attachment to their children. There was latchkey kids whose parents worked all the time, so the child had access to a home key, which they would just go home and have dinner ready for themselves, do everything kind of like a tiny adult. Young girls were expected to get married and raise children. In present day, we have a lot of teenagers with cell phones. Children are expected by the state, are protected by the state, and are separated from adults. Special legal protection exists for children. Parents are highly invested in their children's school, emotionally, physically present in their interests. Young girls are being treated equally. So under the court assumed the role of a child's parents, the court was charged with representing the best interest of the child. That's parents' patriae. And then juvenile court intervention will intervene when there is neglect/dependency. It's kind of one and the same, or when there's delinquency. So delinquency, when an adult has been accused of committing an act which would be considered criminal if they were an adult, or when a juvenile has been accused of committing a status offense. So some examples of adolescents committing adult crimes would be shoplifting, theft, vandalism, assault. Some examples of juvenile committing status offenses would be running away, truancy, underage drinking, curfew violations, and incorrigibility. Dependency and neglect is a court determines that a child is being deprived of needed parents, guardians, support, and supervision. Treatment of delinquents. This graph is from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, and it shows a process for juvenile delinquency prevention as well as steps for reintegration. So as you can see, it starts with prevention, with preventing violence exposure, truancy prevention, positive youth development, youth mentoring. Then it goes to intervention at low risk, which is after school programs, family therapy, diversion to help get back on track, restorative justice, and this is preventing or disrupting a youth's formal involvement in the juvenile justice or child's welfare system. And then we move to intervention at medium risk, in which providing system level intervention to support and hold accountable youth who are formally involved in a court process or some form of system oversight, which would be mental health courts, teen youth courts, gun courts, art-based interventions. Then we have intervention at high level, where there's the system gets involved. There's intensive supervision. Then they use vocational training, alternatives to detention and confinement, probation, date treatment programs, home confinement. Then there's also the out-of-home placement, where a child is placed in a group home. Then we have community reintegration, community-based intervention programs, continuum care of services to youth and families involved in the justice system to help heal trauma, build positive relationships, and acquire new skills. So how can changes in social policy affect children? Changes to social policy can affect children through changing recognition of the status of children generally and through changed understanding of the nature of adolescence and its consequences. So here are some stuff that I found. Community-based programs. Instead of long-term incarceration policies, promote community-based or regional treatment facilities and programs to address serious offenses. Equitable practices. Policies advocate for replacing burdensome fines and fees by recognizing that these financial penalties can create economic instability for struggling families and affect low-income families and communities of color. For example, soccer clubs are extremely expensive for low-income families. I did hear that this year, through the recreational center close to my home, this year recreational parks have enough funding to begin a soccer club dedicated to low-income families by only charging a $10 registration fee. Early diagnosis and counseling. Providing early intervention through diagnosis and counseling helps address the root causes of delinquency. I know sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow for some families, and they just say, oh, maybe he's just troubled. Oh, it's just a phase. It's not going to happen again. It's only going to happen this time. But just being able to accept it and find the help as early as possible would help prevent things from escalating. Family support policies include community-based programs, family courts, and parenting education to improve home environments and provide consistent guidance for children. Thank you. That's all.